Hi, welcome to my channel. My name is Gary Gotham, and in this video I'd like to explore with you the potential for new starts. If you've not done so already, be sure to subscribe to my channel and turn on the bell notification so that you can be one of the first ones to know when a new video has been uploaded. So many of us have faced isolation and feeling beyond reach of late. We've waited and prayed and hoped for better times. Maybe you're still very much in the midst of that right now. The pandemic has certainly been a really tough time for so many people, a time when some have searched for help and healing and cried out to God in the midst of it all. So what can we learn from it? Liz is going to recount a time when touch brought renewed life. Maybe it can for us too, in an age when touch has become fraught.
Mark chapter 5, verses 21 to 43. As soon as Jesus had returned by boat to the other shore, a large crowd gathered round him. While he was by the lakeside, there came a synagogue president named Jairus, and when he saw him, he threw himself down at his feet and pleaded with him. "My little daughter is at death's door," he said. "I beg you to come and lay your hands on her so that her life may be saved." So Jesus went with him, accompanied by a great cloud which pressed round him. Among them was a woman who had suffered from hemorrhages for 12 years. And in spite of long treatment by many doctors, on which she'd spent all her money, she had become worse rather than better. She had heard about Jesus and came up behind him in the crowd and touched his cloak. For she said, "If I touch even his clothes, I shall be healed." And there and then the flow of blood dried up, and she knew in herself that she was cured of her affliction. Aware at once that power had gone out of him, Jesus turned round in the crowd and asked, "Who touched my clothes?" His disciples said to him, "You see the crowd pressing round you, and yet you asked who touched me?" But he kept looking round to see who had done it. Then the woman trembled with fear, because she knew what had happened to her. Came and fell at his feet and told him the whole truth. He said to her, "Daughter, your faith has healed you. Go in peace, free from your affliction." While he was still speaking, a message came from the president's house. "Your daughter has died. Why trouble the teacher anymore?" But Jesus, overhearing the message as it was delivered, said to the president of the synagogue, "Do not be afraid, simply have faith." Then he allowed no one to accompany him except Peter and James's brother John. They came to the president's house, where he found a great commotion with loud crying and wailing. So he went in and said to them, "Why this crying and commotion? The child is not dead. She is asleep." And they laughed at him. After turning everyone out, he took the child's father and mother and his own companions into the room where the child was. Taking a hold of her hand, he said to her, "Talitha cum," which means, "Get up, my child." Immediately the girl got up and walked about. She was 12 years old. They were overcome with amazement, but he gave them strict instructions not to let anyone know about it and told them to give her something to eat.
Last weekend we went to visit family that we hadn't seen since the pandemic had begun, but it felt like so much longer. The drive there was filled with excited chatter. How might they have changed? Serious illness had visited them over the past year. How might we allay any lingering COVID fears? Will the traffic on the roads allow us to be on time or delayed? But most of all, how much we've missed them and that we can't wait to see them again, properly see them again. Don't get me wrong, video calling has been a lifeline for us all, You can't beat sitting in the same garden in a bit of sunshine together, can you? So anyway, eventually we reached their driveway, we pulled up, got out of the car and went into the garden. It had been a surprise visit, so they weren't expecting us, but their reaction was priceless and precious all at once. The hugs and the tears and smiles, so worth it. I hope you too have been able to experience a reunion or two of your own. Having to wait for anything can be a challenge, whether it's a family reunion or a child waiting for their birthday or Christmas. The wait is almost eternal, the hope almost painful. Slightly related, but on a much lower level, given the continuing uncertainty around foreign travel, many people this year are planning on holidaying nearer to home for summer. Consequently, trying to find garden furniture or camping equipment for sale at reasonable prices has become the new toilet roll and pasta shortage, yet more searching and waiting. How much harder, though, is the wait when it's not something good at the end, but simply something to be got through, like an operation for a serious illness, or something to be faced, like an impending bereavement. As the UK marks 5 years since having the Brexit vote, for many the promise of change has yet to be realised. The big changes that are needed to make our society more equal seem further away than ever for some. Equally, as we continue to be released from the pandemic lockdown, its effect will ripple on for years in lost incomes and businesses. And from a health perspective, there's already a massive increase in requests for appointments in doctors' surgeries. So many niggles and serious ailments that we have put up with over the past 18 months are now being investigated. We can wait no longer. We feel safe enough to seek help. And the mental health impacts are going to be with us for many years to come also. And so, in the waiting, we can relate to the two women in today's readings. One who has exhausted her resources in seeking medical treatment for a chronic condition strikes a responsive chord with many older adults today. When they were younger, doctors seemed to be able to provide cures. Now these persons seem to have an ever-expanding list of medical complaints. As one man in his 70s put it, after a certain age, we're never really well, just less sick. The time and emotional difficulty of dealing with the sometimes bureaucratic, impersonal and compartmentalised medical establishment compounds the difficulty. The woman in our reading is a hero of persistence and faith, while Jesus and the disciples appear to represent negative experiences often associated with visits to the doctor, impersonal and sometimes crowded waiting rooms, the sense that the doctor wants to get the patient out of the way, and the dismay when the patient does not respond to treatment as anticipated. Jesus at first appears to condemn the woman rather than celebrate her healing. The strong affirmation he gives to her faith at the end of the story alleviates the apparent harshness in the search for her at the beginning. Jesus does not take credit for making her well, but points to her faith as the real source of her healing. And then we have the second story woven within the first, the story of the young girl. Now every parent with a seriously ill child can identify with Jairus. Parents find it more painful to entrust a young child to the hospital knowing that the youngster is about to undergo a risky or lengthy surgical procedure than to undergo similar treatment themselves. Parents and other family members feel the burden of reassuring the child that the doctors will make him or her all better, even when they know that sometimes the prognosis is not good. Stories like this one seem to promise too much almost. I wonder what we say to the family whose child dies. I wonder where faith and healing are located in their situation. And I will not be so arrogant as to offer a simplistic suggestion here, but I'd welcome your thoughts in the comments below. The mourners who mock Jesus in the story may not have believed that the little girl had any future. But Jesus cared for the girl just as much whether she returned to earthly life or passed to life with God after death. Christians do not base their faith in Christ on miracles. Faith acknowledges that the Son of God is also the crucified one. Having waited through the pain of the pandemic, have we woken up in some better version of the world? No, not really. We had a glimpse of a different world during the first lockdown, where people rallied around, when we changed priorities and values, even if just a little bit. We have woken up in the same world, with many of the same issues, injustices and challenges. I wonder how we might reach out to others in a new and creative way, and what difficult decisions we might need to face in order to do so. At this moment in time in UK history and media reporting, touch is important. The UK Health Secretary is currently under intense scrutiny precisely because of touch. He was the national figurehead who, in May of last year, repeatedly told us to maintain space, in effect, to not touch, to maintain our bubbles, to protect the NHS, to save lives. All the while, it turns out now, intimately touching, bursting bubbles, endangering the lives of his own family and potentially adding to the pressure on the NHS. In contrast to his story, Jesus is touched by a woman who for 12 years had been deprived of human contact. She is healed. In that one moment of connection with Jesus, her life is totally transformed. And in the little girl's case, it is Jesus who reaches out, bringing life. Now, can we mirror him? Can we reach out to and restore lives? Can you be awakened? Can you harness the empathy needed to be transformed into action so that everyone can find the abundance of life that is the promise of Jesus? Through the pandemic, we have seen a little of what it means to be housebound, to be vulnerable, or to be without some of life's essentials. Jesus is calling us to wake up, to take his hand and get up. In both stories, sadness and grief loom large. In both, there are moments of encounter between an individual and Jesus, moments of encounter between Jesus and Jairus, between Jesus and the woman, between Jesus and the young girl. Meeting, encountering Jesus changes lives. I wonder how you might be the helping hands that bring people to him. Talitha cum, little girl, get up. Jesus speaks to us as powerfully as to that unnamed daughter. Now, whether you are wealthy and healthy and A-OK, or struggling to get by, or even to get up, whether you feel bruised or confused, hopeful or anxious, scared or scarred, whether you have lost or gained friends and family members in the pandemic, whether your faith has grown or wilted, Jesus reaches out and says, "Get up, take my hand." It is time for God's people, and that includes you, by the way, to take the hand of Jesus, to find new strength, and to face a new day with all its challenges and opportunities. Loving God, we live in this waiting time, wondering what will happen next, asking questions, searching. Will we return to the old normal? What new things do you have in store for us? Creator God, grant us hope in the midst of a confused and troubled world. Redeemer God, pour out your gift of love that our lives may bear fruit. Sustainer God, free us from fear about what the future might hold, and give us power to live wholeheartedly for others and all of creation. Amen. Now, if we're just meeting for the first time, my name is Gary Gotham. I'm a church minister serving in the southwest of England. If you got value from this time, please click the like and subscribe buttons down below. If you watched last week's video, you'll know that we were asking big questions and hoping that Christ would calm the storms in our lives. This week, my questions to you are this: what strategies do you have for getting through those times of waiting? And in what ways does faith help you in those times. Add your thoughts and your comments down below. Now, if you're looking for another video to watch, then why not try How to Keep Your Head, which asks the question, when you're under pressure, what strategies do you employ to stay sane? The link can be found in the end screen. And until the next one, stay safe and live love.